Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down the entire NFL Week 3 slate, all the good, all the bad that is coming, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Tanner. I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little on edge today, not fully, but just a little anxiety because going to meet up with some of my girlfriend's coworkers after she gets off work today. Why is that making me scared? If she worked any old job, I wouldn't care. She's in a very important government job. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to be conversing with a lot of bigwigs today, and I got to make sure, I got to iron my shirt and everything. I got to make sure that don't swear too much, anything like that, because I'm representing her today, so I gotta ace the test.
Are you gonna see Tony P in DC today?
Tony P?
You know Tony P, don't you?
You
You don't know Tony P and you live in the DMV?
Who's Tony P?
I can't even talk about it anymore. After this, you got to go look up who Tony P in DC is. Your girlfriend definitely knows Tony P.
Unless I'm just blanking.
He's like a Washington DC influencer, and he's the one, like the 25-year-old bachelor in DC. Have you seen those videos?
I'm not big on Insta Reels and TikTok, anything like that.
Oh my god! If you don't know who Tony, you might see Tony P in DC today because he's always out at the bars in the DC area. And
what else is going on in Washington DC? You ever seen the show Love Is Blind?
Yes, it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's the one where they go into like pods and they can't see each other and they date each other through walls.
Yeah.
So Love Is Blind just shot their last, or maybe not just shot. I think it happened last year. Point being, they shot a season in DC, and I think it comes out, either it just came out or it's coming out soon.
I think they had tryouts for that in Boston for a new season like a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I saw it. I can't try out, not only because I have a girlfriend. I'm just not that interesting, really. Like they want people who are really messed up on those shows, like who got
I was gonna say, what do tryouts even entail? Just observe someone and see what type of content they can bring.
So I knew somebody who tried out like 2 years ago for one of those dating shows, and they wanted to see how many issues you had in that initial interview, and then they do like another interview, and they want to keep diving in because they want you to cause trouble. They want you to have some bad stuff in your background where you can build a storyline around it and stuff. So shout out to dating shows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to the podcast viewing audience. I have watched a couple of seasons of Love Is Blind. It is entertaining. These people we're all flawed in our own beautiful ways, but they do have some flaws they got to work through on the show, and it makes for good TV.
And the producers try to manipulate it to make it even more exciting. Like I watched like a behind the scenes of Love Island. I watched Love Island was actually pretty good. And I watched the behind the scenes for it, and then like I listened to a podcast for it to see like who was still together, and like nobody ends up together. But the producers would like, I don't know, not feed the girls for a few days just to make them angry. I don't know. There was some crazy stuff that goes on. They wouldn't, like, when on the off days, they couldn't see the other sex like at all. They had to be separate to build up that tension. Then they would like pipe like rumors in and stuff. Pretty crazy. The feeding thing, maybe not for a few days. Maybe it was for like 12 hours. I don't know, but pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, that is. I didn't realize that dating shows were so hardcore behind the scenes.
Yeah. I saw Post Malone last night. I don't really want to talk about it, but I do want to say that it's amazing that this man shows up on the stage drunk. He is literally smoking a joint during the show, and he's doing dip at the same time, and he is still able to like put on an amazing performance. It's crazy.
Well, hold on. Why don't you want to talk about it?
There's nothing much to talk about. He's really good, but like he showed up drunk. He is smoking a joint during the show, and he's got dip. He's doing like Zyn pouches.
Surprised he wasn't smoking cigs too.
I think might have been doing cigs too. I don't know. Like weed's legal in Mass, so that's probably why he was doing it. But he was running the gambit of stuff, and he was still like unbelievable voice wise. So it was pretty crazy.
Did he do more of his new country pop stuff, or was it more like older hip hop R&B type deal?
50-50. So like this set list was really good because he took all the best songs from his old stuff and put it on this set list, and then did some new country stuff, which was good. So he had like Rockstar, he had White Iverson, he had Congratulations and all that. So all those were on there, plus some country songs. Ernest came out, Hardy came out from the country world. So that was pretty cool. So it was a really good show, but he's a stud.
Was he at the Garden?
No, he's at Fenway.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it was big. Yeah, he was he was like very emotional too. He's like, I never thought I'd be playing at Fenway Park, which was cool to see. And I think the drunk and the high and all that really helped enhance his, when he was like, what's up, motherfuckers? Cheers, motherfuckers. He's like, all I wanted to do is play music. And man, I've never thought I'd be playing at fucking Fenway Park, man. It's really cool. Cheers, motherfuckers. He was cool. He was awesome. So shout out to Post Malone.
Shout out to Post Malone. Congrats on the concert, by the way. It's not. I wish I got to go to more concerts like that too. And sometimes you go and the artist just isn't that good. So it's always nice to get a good one.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So he was really good. But shout out to us too for hitting 100 plus subscribers, 100 plus now on the Ride the Line YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to Ride the Line. We are going to keep this train rolling through football season and hopefully longer. But you guys need to keep subscribing for us to do that. So keep growing it, keep liking it, keep sharing it. Check out WSN.com, World Sports Network, all the picks, promo codes, you name it. It's all on there. Grant, what do you think about WSN.com?
Well, I mean, Tanner, I would be a little, I am a little biased here because a lot of my picks and content and your picks and content do go up on WSN.com. But all I can say is that is the number one place to be during the NFL season. Then after that, NBA, MLB, any time of year, basically, Tanner and I are going to be putting our best bets up there, our analysis on games. And like he said, you can get promo codes, make sports betting even more profitable. So definitely the place to go.
Definitely. So we're going to break down a few games today that have some interesting storylines coming into it. The first being the Giants and the Browns. My thought when we were talking about this before, what we're going to talk about was Daniel Jones and how long he's going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants. I think his time is numbered. I think Brian Daboll's time is numbered. But Grant took it from the flip side and was like, well, Deshaun Watson's just as bad. I'm like, yeah, both these quarterbacks will probably not have jobs much longer in the NFL. I think when you look at Daniel Jones' lifespan, I think he'll be a backup quarterback. I don't know if Deshaun Watson will ever be a backup quarterback because he's not good and he makes too much money.
So I actually saw I'm going to steal a proposal from Twitter. I saw somebody say the Giants should go to the Panthers, say, do you want to trade Daniel Jones? If not, do you want a third? Do you want a fourth for Bryce Young? Bring him in for a year. The team is terrible, so it might not work out. But if you're bad this year and you're bad next year, then you're probably going to have a pretty good chance to draft Arch Manning. So you're kind of getting a shot at the first overall pick in the draft, the quarterback you paid $40 million, or what we think is going to be one of the best quarterback prospects of the last 10, 15 years or so. I don't hate the idea. I think it does give you, again, it gives you a shot at least one of three possible success stories.
Well, I think Bryce Young, he's just not tall enough to ride the ride. Like that's his biggest issue in the NFL. I'm not saying he can't think on his feet. I'm not saying he can't play. Like he can throw a football, obviously. But when you look at short quarterbacks in the NFL, they have not been successful. He's a short quarterback that doesn't have a lot of weight on him, and he's not very fast, and he's not mobile. So like when you combine all that together, he's just not fit to be an NFL quarterback. I think for New York Giants fans, they want to win right now. So as much as they would love to have Arch Manning, I think they'd rather think of the solution. How are we going to win right now? And if they don't take Daniel Jones, if Daniel Jones is no longer the starting quarterback and they're going to move on from him, like they're going to draft a quarterback this year. So they could be a pretty high pick coming into this draft.
Yeah, they probably will be. I mean, this team is terrible. Going back to some of the stuff you can find on WSN, we have a weekly, we update some pages weekly, one of them being the last winless team odds. And so you can go there, you can find a list of the odds. Then I wrote a breakdown of like the top 5 teams. You've got the Broncos, you've got the Giants, and there are a couple others up there, the Panthers, obviously. But my pick was actually the Giants, because if you look at their schedule, they kind of had to win that week 2 game against the Commanders. The fact they lost that, I mean, this is their upcoming schedule. They've got Browns, Cowboys, Seahawks, Bengals, Eagles, Steelers. They will clearly be underdogs in all of those. You'll get the Commanders at home. You did just lose on the road. Maybe you're thinking you get a split, but I think we would both agree Washington's still better than them. So then it would all come down to a meeting with the Panthers the week after that. And there's a good chance that whichever one of those teams loses, the Giants or the Panthers, they will be winless at that point. And that'll make them 0-8, 0-9, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree that the Commanders are a better team. If the Giants had a kicker, they win that football game. So like that's where my mindset is.
Washington also plays it differently though, too.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jaden Daniels more than Daniel Jones. However, I do think the Giants are the better football team. If they had the kicker, they probably win that game, So that's where I'm at with it.
I mean, it's two not great teams. The point being, though, I mean, just to bring it back to Daniel Jones here, he's not the guy. We've got that. I was talking with some friends yesterday, actually, how ironic it is that Brian Dable winning the Coach of the Year is going to get himself fired because he did such a good job. I think was it 2022 Giants win 10, 11 games, whatever it was, get to the playoffs, and they even beat the Vikings. Because that happened, the Giants paid Daniel Jones. They have to keep him around as the starting quarterback. Dable has to continue starting him. And now Daniel Jones is so bad, it's going to end up getting Brian Dable fired. It's just an it's interesting how it works.
So 9-7-1. 9-7-1 in that first 2022 season, 6-11 in 2023, 0-2 in 2024. The biggest problem was you let Saquon walk. You can't let your franchise cornerstone walk. And I'm not saying you should have paid one or the other, but you got to find a way to keep both if you really like both. So I thought that was the biggest issue for them. Looking at Deshaun Watson, Grant, we're ready to move over to him.
Yeah.
He died on the massage table. I saw that from Twitter somewhere. I don't know who said it, but it's true. Like Deshaun Watson, I don't think will ever be the same quarterback after all the scandals. And people give him a break too. Online, I see a lot of people saying like, oh, he's still raw. He's still rusty. Like, should he really be? He's played a good amount of football since being back.
And not only that, it's people in the media too. They always say, you know, when they're doing quarterback rankings or just talking about the Browns, they're like, well, when you think about it, you know, once Deshaun, if he can get back to where it's not happening. When was the last time Deshaun? The last time Deshaun was great was in 2020. That's almost 5 years ago now. He's either been not playing or he's been playing terribly since then. It's not coming back. I understand he's 29 years old, and from that perspective, you would think he'd be able to recapture it, but it's been 5 years. We're going in the opposite direction. This happened with, you know, someone like Josh Gordon, and obviously it was different reasons, but he was so good, so young, and then there was 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5, 6, 7 of him underperforming, and everybody's holding on to, well, we saw what he did. It's not coming back. It's in the past. The Deshaun Watson that was there with the Houston Texans, I don't know if it was because of the ACL tear. I don't know if it was because of guilt over the whole massage situation. Maybe it's some sort of PTSD from being in all the legal battles. Whatever it is, he's not coming back.
And the ACL probably has just as much to do with it from a football perspective, I would think, as the massage table. But something's bad. I mean, but when people give him a break in the media, that's a problem, because when you look at 2022, he started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. You look at 2023, he started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he started 12 games and now 2 more. So he's got 14 games under his belt. And I'm sorry, like if you were a legit quarterback before all your issues, missing 1 season shouldn't make you incapable.
And look at Kyler Murray, by the way, because Kyler Murray came back in the middle of last year. He played 8 games. He wasn't amazing when he came back, but the Cardinals were horrific. And you started to see some signs at the end of the year. And at the start of this year, this is the best he's looked in the last 3 or 4 years. He looks awesome right now.
Yeah. No, the Cardinals look good. I mean, they're not great on defense. I do think they're going to come back to earth a little bit, but Kyler looks like he can do it. And he can run too. And you need to be able to do that if you're a small quarterback. And Bryce Young can't do that.
Yeah, that going back to the whole the Bryce Young situation there, like you said, you know, the other short quarterbacks, Kyler Murray being one of them, Baker Mayfield being one of them. Baker's bigger. I think Kyler is he's shorter, but I think he's still heavier than Bryce Young, and he's also very fast. Drew Brees first of all, he was 6 foot. That's different from 5'9", 5'10", whatever Bryce Young is. But he was also a little bit bigger and just had more. I think he had more arm talent. Like you said, Bryce Young, I think his biggest strength was his mental processing of the game. And he was such a smart player. And maybe that could still work. If you put him with the Miami Dolphins, maybe it works because there's so much speed around you and Mike McDaniel can scheme guys open. But I just think that if it is going to work, he's going to need to be in one of the best situations in the whole NFL. And the simple fact is there aren't even that many to begin with. Like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, these are the best quarterbacks in the league. They're not in that situation. So to think Bryce Young will be is just not realistic.
Grant, please don't disrespect Baker Mayfield in that. Please don't put Baker top 10 quarterback Mayfield in the same conversation as those two.
I'm saying he's short.
He's
Is.
6'1". He's a dog.
He's
That's
6
what he
foot.
is.
He's 6
He's
foot.
6 foot and 5/8. Dog.
Is that the real number?
That was the combine number. 6 foot.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. He's taller than I thought. I thought he was 6 even.
Grant, it doesn't matter. I mean, he's packing, if you know what I mean. Baker is a dog.
I'm not here to litigate a Baker Mayfield argument. He's been great. I told you he's the MVP of the league right now.
All right, Eagles Saints here. Big matchup coming into New Orleans. The Saints are trash, Grant. Like, I'm gonna be honest, they're a bad football team, and just Derek Carr was trash last season. He didn't suddenly get better. The reason he got better is because Alvin Kamara has lit the world on fire in the first 2 weeks. And then Rashid Shaheed suddenly decided to become the best field stretcher, deep ball threat in the NFL. And last year, he didn't hit those home run passes every single time. So when I look at this team, I look at Derek Carr's numbers. He threw for like 240 last week. He threw for 200 the week before. They played the Panthers in one game, and they hit the Cowboys on a bad day where Dallas probably overlooked them. And Rashid Shaheed and Alvin Kamara went off. So I'm not sold on New Orleans yet. I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles are very good, as you're probably going to talk about right now, but I'm not. New Orleans is not going to light the world on fire. Like, they were the most bet team to win the Super Bowl this week. That's crazy. Stop talking about New Orleans, people.
So I'm with you. I think New Orleans is being pretty overvalued by their first 2 weeks. And I do want to give them their credit because I believe in giving people credit. They have been the best team in the league through 2 weeks. You can look at points scored, points allowed, point differential, EPA, yards per play, anything. It all points to the Saints. So they've done a tremendous job. But I'm just like you. I don't think they're that great. But I had them missing the playoffs coming into the year. They beat the Panthers in week 1. Okay, are we really getting out of bed for that? They beat the Cowboys, which is a good win, obviously, but it is a Cowboys team that's got some issues. They weren't able to stop the run, really, and, they beat up on the Browns in week 1, but the Browns were missing their tackles. Dak didn't look great. CeeDee Lamb wasn't at training camp. He's not going to be fully up to speed. So it was a Cowboys team that was dealing with a lot. So, yes, I'm with you. I think the Eagles are better than them. I do have my worries about the Eagles, though, because I also think it's somewhat realistic the Eagles don't make the playoffs. I think this could be a year we get one team out of the NFC East. Right now, I don't really feel comfortable picking if it's Philly or if it's Dallas, but I do think just one of those two is going to get in. I mean, this Philly team, Jalen Hurts looks healthy and he looks spry, and I think there's a lot being made of that because he's able to run the ball, and Saquon Barkley had such a phenomenal debut and really a very good second game aside from the dropped pass. Everybody wants to look at that. The offensive line has done pretty well. This defense is really bad. I mean, seriously, really bad. I think they gave up the second or third most passing yards per game last year. They didn't do a phenomenal job against the run in big moments. I believe their third down conversion, I'm not sure on this one. I think their third down rate on defense was pretty bad last year too. Coming into this year, they've kind of gotten worse in every area. And I understand the secondary, a lot of that was building for the future. But as far as the impact right now, aside from CJ Gardner-Johnson, hasn't been great. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on the front line have not done anything. This linebacking core is not great. I mean, you bring over Devin White and he can't even get on the field. Yet you've got guys like Nakobe Dean who are failing to rush the pass or failing to make tackles. I don't think this Eagles team is good. So kind of two teams here that I think right now are very much overvalued. And I guess I would go with Philly, but I don't love either one of them.
I think the Eagles don't have that dog in them, which is crazy to think because I think everyone thought that Jalen Hurts was that guy and Nick Sirianni was a very good coach. I think Nick Sirianni is just out of control wacko. Like, it doesn't seem like he's got the team together. And then Jalen Hurts just doesn't have that dog in him. And I really am upset about that because when they played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I thought Jalen Hurts was going to be the next great thing.
That was the best game of his career.
Yeah, he was fantastic. That was a great season for him. I mean, he burst onto the scene. He played really well. Now I look at Jalen Hurts as this guy doesn't have it. And maybe it's because he doesn't show a lot of emotion, but if you don't show a lot of emotion, that's fine. You got to go out and find a way to convert and win football games. And they haven't been able to do that back in the second half of the season, really since Nick Sirianni said, whatever, Chiefs fans, how you like that, or shut the F up, whatever he said.
So you want to know what Jalen Hurts, what he has that it's a term that I have coined, and I don't put it out there begrudgingly, but I call it the head ass gene. And I say it whenever somebody continually makes stupid turnovers. And Jalen Hurts I was hesitant to give him this title. I thought maybe last year was one bad year, two very questionable interceptions in the opener. And then in this game against the Falcons, everybody's talking about how great the Falcons were for coming back and winning the game. The Eagles were down 3 points. They could have tied that game with a field goal. And they had 30, 40 seconds and a timeout. They didn't need to go that far down the field because you get the ball at the 30. Jake Elliott's probably one of the best kickers in the NFL. You're asking for 30 yards of offense, and Jalen Hurts just panics and chucks the ball down the field into double or triple coverage, and it's picked off and the game's over. Yeah. There's no need to do that. You could have run. You could have thrown it away. You could have checked it down. You could have done there were a whole bunch of other options you could have taken, and he said, no, I'm just going to throw this interception and end the game. So I have given him the head ass gene.
And it was a great start to the drive too. They were at the 40, 42, 43, I believe, going out after the first pass to Goddard, and then he just throws up. He got hit as he threw, but you should never be throwing that football into double coverage down the field. It was crazy. It was a terrible throw. But yeah, it should be a good game. I'm going to be on the Eagles. I do think they win the game. I think they're a better team than the Saints. However, I don't think either of these teams. I don't think the Saints are anything special. I don't think the Eagles are a legitimate NFC contender.
I just saw the Saints are favored by 2.5.
Yeah, because people are so high on Derek Carr, which is crazy. No, AJ Brown makes a huge difference though too. And this game's in New Orleans, which is a tough place to play.
Devonta Smith can definitely handle wide receiver one for, I don't know how he would do for a season overall. I mean, he did win the Heisman, but when he's been put in that role, he's been fine. It is kind of the other guys. I was really surprised they didn't get Goddard more involved in the last game. Instead, they would start throwing everything to Britton Covey.
Yeah, and Goddard needs to start catching the football. They got to start targeting him because he's the number, taking Saquon out of it, he's the number 2 receiving threat without AJ Brown in there. And he's had 30 yards and 40 yards or something. It's been pretty bad for him so far. So I think that Devonta Smith has been fine. He went over his receiving total, but they're not getting him the ball enough. They're not getting anyone the ball enough. They're not calling good plays.
The other NFC East team we were talking about, Dallas Cowboys hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Don't quite know what your take is on this one. For me, I think this is a desperately needed win for both teams, but especially the Ravens. We can look back on them having the number 1 seed last year and getting to the AFC Championship game, and we can say they've got Lamar, a 2-time MVP, Derrick Henry, Harbaugh, the defense, whatever. If you start the season 0-3, it's a kiss of death. You are not making the playoffs. And especially when you think about how the Steelers have started out 2-0. The Bengals are 0-2, but we're expecting them to turn around. The Browns, we know that defense is going to beat up on everybody. If you go to 0-3 to start the year, I do not see Baltimore getting into the postseason.
I think that both teams need a win, like you were saying. And obviously, based on record, the Ravens need it just a little bit more than the Dallas Cowboys. However, I can't trust the Baltimore Ravens right now after losing to the Raiders as an 8.5-point favorite. And the Chiefs, you can expect the Chiefs loss, and that's fair, even though they had opportunities to go win the game. But you can't lose as an 8.5-point favorite when you not controlled the game the entire time. You let the Raiders stick around. You barely scored. You barely put up points. But you had a lead for most of the game. It was one that you should have went out and won. I think for Dallas, they just had a bad game. That's going to happen in the NFL. You're going to get blown out. Cowboys get blown out all the time. It happens. So I would say the Ravens do need to win more. I kind of like Dallas at home. I think Dallas responds here. I don't think the Ravens have looked interested in playing football.
So this is my biggest concern. My biggest concern, and I'm pulling up some stats right now to help out with it. My biggest concern is that Dallas has been so bad at defending against the run. They've got one of the worst run grades amongst teams in the NFL. And what is Baltimore going to do? They're going to run the ball. They led the league in rushing pretty much every year, and now they bring in Derrick Henry. They should be even better. I do worry about that because we've seen the way to break down Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence is just go right at him. So if Baltimore comes out and they score, a touchdown or 2 touchdowns on their first 2 drives, then I think, you've definitely got to look at them to win the game, especially because Dallas's offense hasn't seemed that explosive. But there's a part of me that's with you. Dallas is going to get blown out. I think of every good team in the league, they get blown out the most, which is weird because they've been the best regular season team over the last 3 or 4 years. They're the only team to win to win 12 games in 3 straight seasons. But I'm with you. I think you're going to see a response here. My bet would probably be the over, but honestly, I would take Dallas to win.
I think it's hard too with the over. Not like I don't totals are hard so hard in the NFL this year, especially with how bad the quarterbacks have been early. But like you said, if the Ravens do want to come out and run the football, that's going to eat clock. And Derrick Henry's not the dude that's. I mean, he's obviously capable of ripping off big gains, but he's 4 or 5 yards a pop right now, and that's just what we've come to expect. So Ravens aren't really throwing the ball well either. Lamar's been very good with the scrambling. I didn't. He doesn't. Nobody looks comfortable for the Baltimore Ravens right now. Nobody looks comfortable for them. There's a lot more comfort with the Dallas Cowboys right now, and that's why I would probably lean towards them at home here. However, Ravens need this win bad, really bad.
Yeah. Going into the year, I had the Ravens getting a wild card spot. I think I had the Bengals winning the division. I can go back and check, but I know I didn't have the Ravens winning it. And a lot of it was just because, I mean, they lost 3/5 of their offensive line. They lost a whole bunch of pieces on defense. They lost Geno Stone, who tied for the league lead in interception. They lost Patrick Queen, who was a first-team All-Pro. Right there, we don't think that makes a big difference. You lost your defensive coordinator the year you gave up the fewest points and the fewest yards and had the most sacks and the most turnovers. We don't think that's going to make a big difference. I'm just always it always makes me so curious going into the year why people, when they're doing their power rankings or predicting who's going to win the conference, the division, they just pull out the same results as last year. They're like, oh yeah, well, the 4 best teams, we're probably going to get Chiefs, Ravens in the conference championship, and then we'll get Lions and 49ers on the other side. Things are going to change. You've got to keep up with that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Injuries make a massive difference, and we got a big injury in Kansas City, Grant. Isaiah Pacheco down. He's on the injured reserve now. Was it an ankle? I think it was an ankle.
It's either fibula or tibia, one of the two.
Fibula. Where's that in your
lower leg?
Lower leg, yeah, lower leg injury. Injured reserve right now. The Chiefs are going into Atlanta to face the Falcons. They opened as a 5-point favorite. Now it's a 3.5-point favorite. I think people are also too high on the Falcons. I think the Falcons played really well last week, but we need to take it from the perspective that the Eagles are not a good team and they had so many opportunities to go out and win that game. The Chiefs, my only reason that I would say that the Falcons might be a decent bet, and I would never bet against Patrick Mahomes against the Falcons. It's just not going to happen. But taking the Falcons with the points in this game, because the Chiefs, as we've talked about, they're not that same offense that's going to go put up 1,000,000 points. They're going to try to play clock control, run the football. Might be a little different without Pacheco. Check downs, short, quick passes, and just keep their defense off the field and just keep bleeding clock on offense.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think you're going to see, first of all, I think you're going to see a whole bunch of screens, lateral passes, short underneath stuff, because the Chiefs aren't going to be able to run the ball because Pacheco isn't there. And Pacheco's a very good back. I don't think he gets his just due around the league. But who are your options right now? The only other running back by trade to get a carry this season is Carson Steele, who is an undrafted running back, fullback hybrid. He's going to take over as your number one. You just signed Kareem Hunt, who I understand is familiar with your system, but is not exactly a player who's going to go out there and give you large production, especially, first week back in practice. And other than that, again, nobody else has taken a carry, has gotten a carry for the Chiefs. So you're going to have to see a lot of, Andy Reid's going to have to get inventive. I think you're going to see Xavier Worthy coming on some end arounds and Rashee Rice getting a bunch of screens, stuff like that. I think that this is going to be a lower scoring game. I would take the Falcons as long as the line stays above 3. Right now it's at 3.5. I would take the Falcons. Travis Kelce this season, 4 catches, 39 yards. I saw someone say, leave the game before the game leaves you. I'm not ready to go with that for Travis Kelce, especially because of what he did in the playoffs last year. I think this could easily be a situation we get to the playoffs and all of a sudden he's going for 100 yards and a touchdown. But right now, he's not making the impact. You've got the injury at running back, and Mahomes has just played maybe the worst game of his entire career. I think people do overvalue the Falcons because of the comeback, but at the same time, this is probably the worst situation the Chiefs have been in, and who knows how long. So I think you take the Falcons at home here.
They're always in bad situations, though. That's the thing. I mean, Andy Reid is the master of working his way out of bad situations with this team. Last year, they weren't talented enough to win the Super Bowl. They had Patrick Mahomes. As far as Travis Kelce goes, how many times are they going to show Taylor Swift on the? It's out of hand already, and he's not even making the plays. It's just Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift, Taylor Swift. And I don't know. Last year with Travis Kelce, he started the season very slow. He got better as the season went on. Obviously, the playoffs were great. So we're following that same trajectory right now. I don't know if that has to do with just not being focused in the offseason and not showing up ready to work or not, but they got to stop showing Taylor Swift.
He's also 34, 35 years old.
Yeah.
For a tight end, like, he should be at the end of the career.
And he is. I think this will be the last year he plays. Maybe one more after. Depends
he signed a 2-year deal in the offseason, so he can play 2 years on this deal.
So next year would be the final season, thinking you're going for the 3-peat. If you don't get it, you try to win one more and then you're done. I think the Chiefs will be fine in this football game. I don't know if I'd lay 3.5 with them. I'm probably going to live bet them to win if you can get them for, even money at some point in this game because their masters are coming back. But as far as Isaiah Pacheco not being there, I'm not super concerned because Andy Reid has just been so good at working his way out of jams. And you also have Patrick Mahomes. You still have Rashee Rice. You still have Xavier Worthy. You still got a lot of talent.
So I'm not as sick of Taylor Swift as you. I've just grown accustomed to it. But you know what I didn't like? I love Jason Kelce. I love the guy. Why was he there for an entire quarter during the Monday night game?
Well, they had to. The reason they pushed it, I think, was because the drive continued. Right? Like he was supposed to be up there for a little bit and the drive continued and they want to keep talking to him. Because Jason Kelce is related to Travis Kelce, and Travis Kelce is related to Taylor Swift. And then Jason Kelce's wife is also a sweetheart in the eyes of the media. Like they just people like the Kelces right now. And it's
the Kelces are just freaking everywhere. That's all I can say. And I felt bad for Falcons fans. Because why would I want to listen to a hero of the team I'm playing commentate the game for a whole quarter?
I didn't find an issue with that. I mean, it's no surprise to me. Where Taylor Swift, I don't care about Taylor Swift. I'm accustomed to it too. But at least show her when he's making plays. Like you're showing her every damn time. Travis Kelce just didn't even missed a block, and you're showing her. Yeah,
there was I wish I could remember. There was a touchdown. There was a touchdown for the Chiefs, and they flashed to her reaction. And again, Travis Kelce was not involved in the play at all. I was like, why?
Maybe she's a Chiefs fan now too. That's cool. Like I'm cool with her being a Chiefs fan, but we don't need to show her to a point where people are just you're just showing her because you want to satisfy the people who are turning on the game for Taylor Swift.
I mean, we should expect that. There's big money in Taylor Swift, so they're going to continue to show her.
And we should expect Jason Kelce commentating because he's on a podcast that just got a 3-year, $100 million deal. Like that's like call her daddy Joe Rogan level, because and that podcast would never be anything if it didn't have all the Taylor Swift stuff last year.
It's funny how the timing just really came together for both of them, because just kind of on accident, they both get to the Super Bowl in the same year. And then right after that, or right before that, Travis starts dating Taylor Swift, and they just start the podcast. Like everything just came together for them at the perfect time.
And then you would tune into that podcast for all the latest Taylor Swift drama the next day. And then this I wouldn't, but just people would. I said that weirdly, but I would never tune in for it. I didn't listen to whatever New Heights. But that podcast is not worth $100 million without Taylor Swift. But good for him. It's a great business decision. It's probably you're good.
Yeah. Well, they might be good, but Falcons plus 3.5.
All right, Falcons plus 3.5. I don't have a pick in this one, honestly. I don't have a pick in a lot of these games. They're too tight to call. But that's what betting is. We got to make decisions, so I'm going to live bet. Anyways, Grant.
This is the worst start to betting for the public sides in the last 10, 20 years or so.
Well, you can tell based on the Survivor Leagues. Survivor Leagues is basically how the public bets. So it's parlays with Survivor League pieces, and they haven't been very good. I've been doing a lot of teasers. Teasers have actually been okay because I've been taking favorites down. Like the other night, I took the Eagles down to plus 3.5, and it worked out for me. But obviously, the money line ticket wasn't working.
Nope.
Anyways, Grant, take us out here.
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Tanner and I appreciate you all helping us get to 100 subscribers. If you want to be there for 200, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button as well. Drop some comments. Let us know who is winning this weekend. We will catch you all in the next episode of Ride the Line.